said on last Wednesday that we're going to, this year, with a $17 billion deficit. Now, $17 billion, I want to put that in context. I want to explain why it's arisen and how we're going to deal with it. Well, $17 billion really comes in two parts. The first part is what you might call the operational deficit, $12 billion. The second part is really the Christchurch recovery program. And we've made the decision that we would essentially incur the cost in this coming financial year. That is a bit different for many business years, not related directly to the tax year. So it's 1 July through to 30th of June. 1 July this year through to 30th of June next year. And during that period of time, the main contracts will be let for the recovery of Christchurch as it relates to government. And of course, as you know, letting a contract effectively incurs the expenditure, even if the expenditure is actually made over 2 or 3 years. So we made that in principle decision, help trying to clear the pathway forward for the recovery act. So you'll be saying that leaves $12 billion. Now let's put that in context. Government expenditure, well first the macro figure is this. The size of the New Zealand GDP is 200 billion New Zealand dollars. Substantial sum of money, around $40,000 per head, NZ, puts us around about 18 in the OECD rankings. Not as good as we used to be. In contrast, Australia is about 10. Big gap. And we're at the same level as Italy. We used to be behind Greece. We are no longer behind Greece for reasons that are well understood, I'm sure, here. The government expenditure, the share of that $200 billion that the government spends is $70 billion. Essentially 1/3. It's a lot of money. I think we all can see. That's probably why you're thinking, no wonder my tax bill is this. And bear in mind the tax bill is obviously income taxes, GST, there's a small amount of other charges, but those are the big two items in our taxes, and fuel taxes and a few other things. Our revenue is $58 billion from those taxes. So the gap is $12 billion. So why do we have that gap? In a recessionary period, what happens is 2 or 3 things. We've all experienced this. Business activity reduces, and the amount of money that businesses, or profitability of the business is therefore reduced, therefore tax revenues go down. Unemployment increases, therefore there is less PAYE. General activity reduces, and therefore there's less GST. So you see a decline in government revenues. Right at the same time, however, you see an increase in government expenditure. Unemployment benefit goes up. Usually, DPB and invalids benefits go up as well, and sickness benefits. So they'll all have a bit of a kick up. Accommodation supplements have to go up. Emergency payments have to go up. All of those costs go up. Continuously, there is increased numbers of kids going to school. That's pretty much paid for on a per child basis. Our population is getting older, so you're spending more on health each and every year. And you'll see in this budget increased expenditure both on health and on education. We have made some formal long-term structural commitments around broadband and roading. The roading is largely paid for by fuel tax. There's a slight tiny share in there. So one of the things that government can do, unlike perhaps a family or a business, we can use our balance sheet to carry a country through difficult times. Smooth off what would be otherwise a deep breach. And every Western country's done that. But you can only do it for so long. before your debt starts to get too high. So we came into the recession with net debt in New Zealand relatively low compared to other countries. We'll come out of the recession with net debt at around about 30% of GDP. And over the next 4 years, we'll then pay that off in essence and get, we won't pay that off. We'll get back to a surplus situation and be able to start to pay off. You can see in that scenario why partial asset sales have tremendous virtue, threefold virtue in fact. Firstly, they provide more depth to our stock markets. You know, all those people putting the 1.7 million New Zealanders who put money into KiwiSaver, that money has to be invested in money. There are people in this room who take an active or have played an active role in all of that area. So that's one of the things we have to do in our stock market. Our stock market is 1/40th of the size of Australia's. That's actually a pretty bad indictment on our country. Because our economy is not 1/40th of the size of Australia's. It's more like 1/10th. So we have a weak stock market relative to